the story begins. Have you ever wondered, if you knew the future, if you knew something terrible was destined to happen, could you do anything to stop it? In Greek mythology, prophecy was never a gift. It was a death sentence, wrapped in the silk of fate. No one escaped it. No one defied it. And strangely enough, it was the very act of trying to avoid it that made it come true. From Oedipus, who killed his father and married his mother, to Achilles, whose downfall was sealed by his legendary heel, even mighty Zeus trembled before a single spoken prophecy. Greek myths are overflowing with tales where belief and prophecy are not just the glue holding the cosmos together. They are the whips that drive heroes to ruin, make gods tremble, and drag mortals into inescapable spirals of doom. In today's video, we'll open that box of destiny together. Not Pandora's box, but the box of Greek prophecies, visions of the future, and the tragedies that no one, not even the gods, could escape. Oedipus, a prophecy born from fear. Some children are born in joy, others in hope. But Oedipus was born in terror. In the kingdom of Thebes, King Laius and Queen Jocasta had everything: power, wealth, a throne passed down through noble blood. All they lacked was a child. And when the gods finally granted them a son, a dagger came hidden in the cradle, a prophecy from the oracle of Delphi that tore their joy apart. The son you bear will kill his father and marry his mother. Laius turned pale as a corpse. The child he had longed for was now a monster in his eyes. In fear, he pierced the infant's ankles, wrapped him in cloth, and ordered a soldier to abandon him on Mount Cithaeron, where wild beasts and cold winds would do what he could not: end his son's life. But Greek myths are never that simple. The soldier, struck by pity, spared the child and gave him to a shepherd from Corinth. The baby was adopted by the royal family there and named Oedipus, swollen foot, for the wounds still marked his flesh. He grew up brilliant and strong, but something inside him always felt off. One day, Oedipus too sought answers from Delphi, and the gods, cruel as ever, gave him a nightmare for a future. You will kill your father and marry your mother. Unaware of his true origins, Oedipus believed the prophecy referred to his adoptive parents. In horror, he fled Corinth, hoping to outrun fate. But the moment he left was the moment the prophecy began to unfold. At a dusty crossroads, Oedipus clashed with a nobleman's chariot. The old man, proud and furious, struck Oedipus for blocking the path. Enraged, Oedipus killed him, not knowing that man was King Laius, his real father. Fate, like an old spider, continued weaving its trap. Oedipus arrived in Thebes, plagued by the Sphinx. He solved its riddle, saved the city, and was hailed as a hero. As a reward, he was given the hand of the widowed queen, Jocasta, his mother. Neither knew the truth. They ruled. They loved. They had children. It was a golden age built on blood-soaked roots. Until the cracks began to bleed. A plague swept through Thebes. The oracle spoke again. The killer of Laius lives among you. The land rots with his sin. Determined to save his people, Oedipus began an investigation, one step at a time, each revelation peeling away the mask of fate, until the final piece fell into place, and the truth stood naked under the noonday sun. He had killed his father. He had married his mother. He had fathered children cursed by blood and fate. Jocasta, upon learning the truth, hanged herself in despair. And Oedipus, in a scene drenched in agony, took the pins from her robe and gouged out his own eyes. Let me not see the light of my shame, nor let the light see a monster like me. He wandered blind, exiled not for a crime, but for the tragedy of being born into a prophecy he could never escape. A man undone, not by evil, but by the fate he tried so desperately to defy. Achilles, a death written in blood. In Greek legend, some heroes are not born to live long, but to burn bright, briefly, like lightning tearing across the sky, before vanishing into myth. Achilles was one of them. Son of Thetis, the sea goddess, and King Peleus, Achilles entered the world with a prophecy hanging over him. He will be great, but his life will be short. If he goes to Troy, he will never return. Thetis, with a mother's desperate love, tried to defy fate. She dipped her infant son in the river Styx, whose waters made flesh invincible. But she held him by the heel, leaving that one spot untouched by the river's power. Thus, Achilles' heel became a symbol of hidden vulnerability beneath godlike strength. Achilles grew, brilliant, unmatched in combat. When war erupted at Troy, Thetis, desperate still, hid him on the island of Scyros, disguised among maidens. But fate, like the tide, cannot be held back. Odysseus, ever cunning, offered gifts to the girls, silks, mirrors, and a gleaming sword. Achilles reached for the blade, and in that moment, destiny unveiled itself. He was bound for Troy, bound for glory, bound for death. On the battlefield, Achilles was a storm. His sword tore through armor like wind through leaves. When he charged, the Trojans scattered, like sheep before thunder. But the first crack in Achilles wasn't in his body, it was in his heart. Agamemnon, prideful and cruel, stole Briseis, the woman Achilles loved. Wounded in pride and soul, Achilles withdrew from war. His comrades bled and died as Troy surged forward. Then came the breaking point. Patroclus, his dearest friend, his soul's anchor, killed by Hector while wearing Achilles' armor. Achilles roared, grief drowning reason. Patroclus was the last human part of me. Now, I am nothing but fury. He returned to the battlefield, not for honor, not for victory, but for vengeance. The duel with Hector was a clash of legends. Hector fought for his people. Achilles fought for the dead. When Hector fell, Achilles desecrated his body, dragging it behind his chariot in a circle of rage. The hero had become a ghost of wrath. And then came the inevitable. Paris, guided by Apollo, loosed an arrow. It found the only mortal place on Achilles' body, his heel. Achilles fell, not with a scream, not with anger, but with the silence of a soul already broken. Because, perhaps, Achilles had truly died the day Patroclus did. He lived like fire. He died a legend. But his tale is a reminder. No hero, no matter how strong, can outrun fate. No sword, no shield, no sacred river can make one immortal. If destiny has marked the weakness within your very blood. Cassandra, the woman who saw the future, but no one believed. Among all the voices of prophecy echoing through Greek mythology, none carry the weight of sorrow quite like Cassandra, the princess of Troy, blessed with the gift to see the future and cursed so that no one would ever believe her. It was not a blessing, it was a cruel punishment, as if fate wanted to test the very limits of despair by granting her a vision of oncoming doom, yet stripping away her power to stop it. Daughter of Priam, king of Troy, Cassandra drew the eye of Apollo from a young age, not only for her beauty, but for her radiant mind and hunger for truth. The god of light and prophecy offered her a gift in exchange for her love, the power to see the future. She accepted the gift, but refused the love. And Apollo, furious but bound by his word, twisted his gift into a curse. You will see every tragedy before it comes, but no one will believe you. From that day on, Cassandra became a voice screaming into the void. A prophetess trapped in a nightmare of foresight, dismissed as mad. She foresaw the fall of Troy. She saw the wooden horse, not as a trophy, but a coffin of death and fire. She screamed. She begged. She tore at her throat in despair. But they laughed. They called her insane. As the people of Troy rolled the wooden horse through the gates, celebrating their victory with music and flowers, Cassandra stood alone, her eyes wide open, already hearing the screams of the dying, already seeing the blood spill down the city walls. And just as she warned, Troy fell. But her tragedy did not end there. Taken as a prisoner by Agamemnon, she was brought to Mycenae, a foreign land where she foresaw another doom. She saw that Agamemnon, the glorious victor, would be murdered by his own wife, Clytemnestra. Again, she warned. Again, she cried out. And again, no one listened. Cassandra died beside Agamemnon, unrecognized, unheeded, her body silenced, but her vision eternal. A prophetess with the sky in her eyes and agony in her soul, forever remembered not for the lives she saved, but for the truths no one dared to believe. History may celebrate the victors, but it is Cassandra's broken voice that haunts eternity. Her story is not just a myth, it is a warning to us all. Truth is not always denied because it is wrong, but because it hurts too much to face. Prophecy, a mirror for humanity today. In the shadow of Oedipus's tragedy, we see more than the cruelty of fate. We see humanity's deepest fear, the terror of a future we cannot escape. Perhaps the most painful truth is not knowing the future, but knowing it and being powerless to change it. The tales of Oedipus, Cassandra, Croesus, and Perseus all orbit a single axis: prophecy, and the belief in it. In Greek mythology, belief is sacred and dangerous. Cassandra saw every disaster before it struck, but no one believed her. Oedipus ran from his fate, only to sprint into its arms. Croesus misread the oracle and lost everything. Prophecies never lie. But they don't show the path, they cast a shadow. And how we respond to that shadow is what shaped our destiny. Have you ever wondered? If Oedipus never went to Delphi, would any of it have happened? If Cassandra never begged Apollo for foresight, might she have lived in peace? If Croesus had simply asked, whose empire will fall? Might Lydia have survived? But that is the brilliance of Greek mythology. It never tells you what to believe. It tells a story, so you can find your own lesson. And what are those lessons? Knowledge is a double-edged sword. Faith, whether in gods, fate, or ourselves, must be guided by reason. And running from the truth is never a path to peace. In conclusion, faith, prophecy, and human nature. Greek mythology was never just fantasy. It's a mirror reflecting our ambitions, fears, hopes, and pride. The oracles weren't written to crush free will, but to show that even when the future is known, what defines us is how we choose to live with it. You can be Oedipus, blinded, yet brave enough to face the truth. You can be Croesus, defeated, but wise enough to repent. You can be Cassandra, isolated, but still speaking truth no one dares to hear. No matter who you are, you still have a choice. Thank you for joining me on this mythic journey through belief and prophecy, where fate and free will twist like twin rivers beneath the surface of our minds. If this story stirred something within you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as we continue to explore the ancient fragments of myth that still hold timeless power. Because even in the realm of gods, there are always lessons meant for us.